All right, I'm here with Dan Roche, and the Red Sox right now are 27-31. They have dropped 5 consecutive games. They're below 500 by 4 games for the first time since September of 2023. And Dan, you and I talk about a lot how you really gauge where your team is at by the time you hit Memorial Day. We're now past that point. Have your expectations changed for the 2025 Red Sox?
I think they're guarded, put it that way. They have to get things to go right now and get everybody on the same page and have a lot come together in order to be a contender. That's kind of I think how I look at it. And I think it just watching this team and then thinking about years past, I think you almost have to lower the expectations from the sense of you've got a lot of kids that you're trying to incorporate into this lineup, and you've lost some veterans, especially one in particular that was the right-handed heart and soul of the team. So I think that the way things have gone, I think, yeah, you have to lower expectations from the sense of, I go back to, when they won in 2013, it was starting the progression of working guys in from Mookie Betts to Jackie Bradley Jr., eventually to Benintendi, to Devers, all the way up before they were able to do what they wanted to do in 2018. So I think we're kind of seeing the growing pains, like it or not, of the young stars that the Red Sox are hoping to have anchor this franchise for a long time to come. They're kind of being rushed into duty, and not only rushed into duty, Joe, but I think more so put into tough positions in the batting order, where some of these guys should be batting 7, 8, 9. Like I looked at it this morning, you go to opening day, it was Duran, Devers, Bregman, and then it was Casas and Story. We know Bregman and Casas are both hurt. Story has been a major disappointment so far. And then you had Campbell, Abreu, Wong, which could substitute with Narvaez, and then you had Rafaela. And all those guys down the bottom are being pushed to the top, more so that Marcelo Mayer went from being, hey, it's great, he's called up, look, he can help this team, to batting cleanup. So it's just kind of like been one of those thirds of the season that suddenly has fallen off a cliff in many ways for this team.
Yeah, and there are so many different reasons why they've gotten to this point. The injuries are a huge part of it. I mean, you lose your 3 and 4 hitters from your opening day lineup and lose them for a significant amount of time. That's obviously going to hurt your club. But it was a realization, Dan, just looking at the lineups during this Brewers series, just how much this team has changed from opening day when we thought this team could win the American League East. And yes, there's still so much season left, but at the same time, you have to be a little bit more realistic about this group. Now they've lost 16 one-run games. They've also lost 7 games via walk-offs, which is the most in Major League Baseball. It does feel like this team needs something to pull itself out of its malaise right now, because they seem lost, I think, now that we're at this point in the year, you can be realistic and honest about it and say this isn't just a beginning of the season stretch. This is who they are, at least right now.
Yeah, and who they are right now is a banged up team, and that's kind of not maybe the right label even just yet for this team. I think we don't know who they are because they haven't been together enough to be who they are just yet. We've seen a lot of the same mistakes, though. We see some careless base running, which we saw, good Lord, at a horrendous rate in the finale against Minnesota. But again, think about the other things we're seeing. We're seeing an overtaxed bullpen that's trying desperately just to hold it together. When on opening day, your expectations were Crochet, then Houck, and then Buehler, Fitz, and Newcomb with Bayo to be mixed into that, along with Giolito and Crawford. And look at where that's gone. That's all over the place, too, as far as the rotation below Crochet. So, again, you're seeing these types of things. So now if I'm Craig Breslow and Alex Cora and the entire development staff and what have you, I'm getting on the same page now, Joe, to say we're not even thinking about contending right now. We're not even thinking about, anything other than what are we doing today for our ball club to make it better for this year, for next year, and for years to come. So I think those are all the considerations that need to be taken in here as you look at this roster right now, the way it's constructed, because right now you're playing your AAA ball club in a lot of nights against major league teams. And we're seeing that it's going to take a while. It's not easy to do what they're doing here. And you've got guys trying to adjust to play all different types of positions too, which has made it even harder. Christian Campbell's trying to learn first ball, play second. And we saw what happened with him in that wild errant throw in the 10th inning. So there's guys all spread all over the place on this roster, and they're not even where they're comfortable playing on an everyday basis yet. So I think you got to show a lot of patience. And like it or not, Red Sox fans, maybe, like you said, maybe the expectation should be lowered to the sense of let's develop these guys and see if we can get them mentally and physically in the right spots here to let them perform and learn on a major league basis.
Where do you stand on the whole Roman Anthony conversation, Dan? Because a lot of Red Sox fans want this guy up with Marcelo and Christian Campbell so that the big three can all be in the major leagues. And this guy, and Roman Anthony, is a top prospect in the sport.
Yeah, I think Alex Spear had a nice article in the Boston Globe about this whole thing, and he had a chat with Craig Breslow about like there's some things that they still want him to work on where he needs working, against breaking stuff, things like that before they're ready to call him up. I can understand that. I can understand the clamoring for Red Sox fans, and heck, when you're watching these games, you're like, geez, just call up Anthony. He couldn't do any worse, right, than what they're doing. But I go back to what I just said a few minutes ago. I think you got to do what's best for the organization right now. Despite what you're seeing on the major league level, you got to let these guys grow and develop here. So I think I give I guess I'll give Breslow and Cora and company, let them judge as to what they need to do with Anthony to get him up here. If he comes up, fine. If he doesn't, I'm fine with that too, because I think there's a lot more problems than just sitting here saying, hey, develop. Remember also when all these guys come up, remember Xander Bogaerts, he was a walk machine, a base on balls machine in 13, but then he struggled. Mookie Betts has had his struggles. Jackie Bradley Jr. has had his struggles, all these guys. And then you're also trying to find out who you think you want to build this franchise with, right? We already saw Kyle Teal go elsewhere to bring Crochet here. We all thought that was a really good move. But you look at years past, and there were guys in that lineup like Blake Swihart. It looked like he was going to be a catcher of the future for years to come, but got hurt. So those are the kind of things that you look at. And then it took years for this rotation to evolve to where they brought in, Price, they brought in Sale, they brought in Evaldi, like that got them that championship in 2018. So again, I'm looking at the larger picture here, and it's not nice to look at that in the third of the way into your major league season where they've had losing in the past. But I think, again, you have to let the roster evolve, find out who they want to keep, and then go from there.
And I think the roster has evolved because of everything we talked about to the point where, again, it's just a different season now. We had different expectations coming in, but at this point, we can start to see, okay, this team, even if it found a way to squeak into the playoffs, it's not going to make a lot of headway. And at this point, it's more of a development year than anything else, just because of, again, Bregman being out, Costas being out, and the way that they've already started off the season from a record standpoint, now being 4 games below 500. Dan, this whole Trevor Story part of it, though, it's been tough to watch, honestly, because by all accounts, great teammate and somebody that is very honest about his performance and lack of availability, through his years in Boston so far. But in the month of May, he's hitting 159 with a 409 OPS. He's 14 for 88 in this stretch. You even stretch it out longer than that. It's been worse for Trevor Story. What do you think this team's going to do with him with 2 years, $50 million left on the deal after this year?
Yeah, I think that's, again, another tough call here, Joe, right? Because you just wonder when injuries catch up to a body. Is that what we're seeing here with Trevor Story with all that he's gone through in the past? But then again, you say, okay, guys have had bad months in the major leagues before, right? You can have a really bad April and a great May, or you can have a really great April like Christian Campbell did, and then have a struggling May. So I think, you have to kind of play it and continue. The tough part is you have to continue to play him, right? Because of all the injuries going on elsewhere. But I think, a lot of people wouldn't mind seeing, Anthony come up here and maybe sit, in a Story for a few games, play Rafaela at short and what have you. But again, we're just sitting here talking about trying to develop certain guys. And this all circles around to me, Joe, and I'm going to go off a little bit here. I certainly respect and I feel for what Raffy Devers has gone through here. But I keep hearing, the Red Sox, maybe they should just go to him and say, hey, would you play third base because of the circumstances? I'm old school. You know that, Joe. I believe in analytics and everything else. But what happened the days if I'm Raffy Devers, and I know I've been kind of jerked around here, but they basically told him to get comfortable at DH, and he has gotten comfortable at DH. But now if I'm a so-called team leader on a team that needs leadership right now, and doesn't have a lot of superstars on this team, I walk into Alex Cora's office and with Breslow there and say, you know what? In light of what's happened with the loss of Casas and with the loss of Bregman, give me my third base glove. I'm going to go out and take ground balls, and I'm going to get back to being your everyday third baseman. That way, for them, it opens up so much roster flexibility. It allows you to take Yoshida and get him somehow back into the lineup as a DH. It allows you to put Refsnyder as a DH if you want to do that. It allows you to bring up Anthony if you want to do that and put Abreu in that spot if Yoshida still isn't ready or what have you. And I think that would help solve a lot of the problems inside that clubhouse too, with just the leadership of a guy like Devers. Like, it's time to grow up, right? It's time to like say, hey, I know it's been tough and this and that, and I pouted a little bit and what have you. And I don't blame him in a lot of ways because we've talked about that. Like, you're trying to get a new position, learn a new position to DH. But you know what? As a team, you're desperate. As an organization, you're desperate. And as an organization that's given you $300 million with guarantees everywhere around it, time for someone to step up and say, listen, get in this office. Tell me what you want to do. You want to help win. You want to win, period. And the best thing right now for this team, you know it, I know it, everyone knows it, is for him to play third base and at least help alleviate some of the problems you're having with that roster.
Or possibly, Dan, just be an option at first base too. And Alex Cora seems
I'm done with that, Joe, though. It's too late. That's too late for me. Like, that's over. The experiment of Devers at first is going to make it worse because they've had so many errors. They've had so many situations where they're just not playing good baseball. Put Devers at third where he's been forever and let it and say, just play there. You don't have to learn another position. You've been there, play there, and then do what you want to do with first and everywhere else. That's my pet peeve as we sit here today.
No, and I understand that. It's just interesting because Alex Cora said, yesterday the door was kind of closed on third base, but he did leave that door open for first base. And you wish this happened a couple weeks ago, and you and I talked about it. We both understood where Rafael Devers came from in this situation. The frustration that he felt was understandable, but the hardest part about this is his team is floundering. And then on top of that, you got a rookie who's trying to learn a new position while just trying to make his way in the major leagues. And since the start of May, he's been hitting 120 and among batters with at least 80 plate appearances has the lowest OPS. And that's not all because he's learning a new position, but it's one more thing on top of, again, just trying to adjust to being a big leaguer for the first time in his career. So it's all pretty interesting how this could play out. But you saw Devers at the end of that series against the Brewers, Dan. You remember him sitting, in the dugout, just looking out and basically trying to just take stock of where this team is at, which again is now at rock bottom, at least for right now, with no real identity moving forward.
Well, let me ask you this then. If you're Craig Breslow and you're Alex Cora and you're 25 other guys sitting in that Sox clubhouse, if tomorrow first thing when he got to the ballpark, or if today he went to Cora and said, can we meet down in the lobby? What would it do for this ball club if Rafael Devers, who was one of your best hitters, if not the best hitter on this team, what would it do for you and your teammates and the organization if Devers just walked in and said, I'm going to play third base. I played there my whole life. And if it helps us and alleviate, at least try to solve some of these problems we're having elsewhere, give him my glove. I'm going to still do what I do. I've been an all-star as a third baseman. I've won a World Series as the third baseman. So here you go. What would that say to you if you were a teammate? What would that say to you if you were Alex Cora? What would say that to you if you're Craig Breslow? I mean, it's to me, it's like so obvious. And everyone's dancing around saying the Red Sox should go to Devers and everything else. No, just Raffy. Like, that's it. Just say, I'm going to play third base. It's like your comfort zone. You've been there your whole life. And yeah, you had a Gold Glove winning third baseman come in and replace you. But we know you're not a Gold Glover, but you can play the position. There's nothing wrong with that. And again, what would that do for everybody else in trying to help fix the rest of the lineup around you in the infield and the outfield and get everybody to play defense and good baseball again?
It's a lot of unknowns right now, Dan.
It's too much common sense, though. There's a lot of unknowns, but that is like too much common sense. That's it. Period. End of story. Yeah,
the team wants to, they have to also publicly acknowledge they want him at third base too. I think you wonder, again, it all dates back to the beginning of the season, Dan, but they essentially told him in as many words, we don't want you playing the field, right? And again, we were just talking about it right now. like at this point, having him out there in some capacity opens up DH, which makes things a whole lot easier. But they've had to work their way really from that point, and they've had to reverse course so quickly that it's complicated everything. But I like to see it too.
It's like
I like
Devin
to see it too.
McCourty. It's like Devin McCourty being a great cornerback when he gets in, and still a very good cornerback when he's playing in the NFL. And they go to him and say, I think the best thing for the team is for you to play safety. Okay, right? Let's go. And I know different guarantees with contracts or whatever, but this should make it easier for Raffy because he could screw up. I mean, he's still going to get paid $300 million.
Yeah, he's still got a lot of money coming his way.
Again, and I get the whole old school and, the new era and thinking, and you don't want to disrupt his confidence or whatever. I don't see how this would disrupt his confidence and disrupt his game. He's going to a place that he's played his whole life. We're not talking about first base. I would say, if I was Core and Breslow, I'd say, don't even think about playing first base. I don't want you to play first base right now. For the next 2 months, pick up your glove and play third. And when Bregman gets back, we'll figure it out then. But right now, we're sinking as a team, and it's all about winning. Raffy, you go back to third, and then let's figure out everybody else around the infield and go from there. That's just my pet peeve.
No, I listen. I love the fire. I love the Dan Roche fire. Before we have to duck out, Dan, I got to ask you, what's the longest amount of time you've lost your car keys for?
Like Marcelo Mayer?
Yes.
Yeah. Probably the worst thing I ever did was I was doing a story in my younger days at WBZ, and it was winter, and I drove to the station after doing my stuff out in the field to come back and put together a story. I got into the office, put together my story. I get in the office about noontime, and I went to leave at about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I'm like, I can't find my keys. So I'm looking all over the place, all over the newsroom, all over the office. Maybe I backtrack them. I said, well, maybe they fell on my way from the car, and I went out to my car, and the car was still running. So it had run for 8 hours.
Oh.
That was probably the worst episode I had with keys.
Oh my God. I think the worst thing that ever happened to me was in my minor league days. We won a first half title. So there was a big celebration. You're in your spot in the playoffs. And for a month, I had to hold my keys together to make sure I could turn the ignition on because the screw was loose, but I was celebrating. I got beer and champagne poured on me, and I think I flung out everything in my pocket so it didn't get wet. I lost my key. I had to get a new one.
Well, at least it was a good excuse or a good reason.
At least it wasn't in my coat pocket for 3 weeks.
Yes, but to have the champagne shower and everything else, it's like, okay, we'll allow that.
Yeah, unlike him though, we're not big leaguers though. So
right, we can't get a ride to work on the whim. You know what I mean? Say thanks.
Exactly. And it's nice that he's up with the big league club amidst all this, and hopefully he doesn't have to hit fourth for too long. But that's obviously the reality of the situation. And we'll see if this team can improve its fortunes here in the near future and see what changes might come to help them get back on the winning track. Dan, appreciate the time as always. Glad you got your car keys on you.
Always a pleasure, Joe, and sorry about my rant there.